And now all eyes turn to England against Argentina. The second semi-final game we have is England against Argentina, and this is going to be a crazy match, not only due to the incredible talent on both of these teams, the difference makers that they have with Kane, with Bellingham, with Lionel Messi, but the history of this fixture, guys. If you don't know about the history of this fixture, there is a lot of history. There is a lot of history with this fixture, guys. Obviously, the main incident that we all think back to is the hand of God by Diego Maradona back in the 80s, obviously beating England in that quarterfinal matchup. But even the other matchups that these teams have had in the 90s, in the early 2000s, obviously, guys, both England and Argentina were fighting in the Falkland Islands War about 40 years ago, a little bit more than 40 years ago. So even down to historical context, this is going to be a very interesting game. But guys, in today's video, just like all my other preview videos, we will be talking about this game. I'll be talking about Argentina and how they can win this game. I'll be talking about England and what they need to do to win. And obviously, I will be giving you guys my final preview for what I think will happen in this game. So without further ado, let's get right into this. So obviously, at the time of recording this video, this game is happening tomorrow at 3 p.m. guys. The winner of this game will play in the 2026 World Cup final. Now let's start off with talking about Argentina, because obviously, guys, Argentina are ranked first place in the world by FIFA, and there's a lot of hype with Argentina, but also a lot of hatred, guys. Argentina, we've seen in recent games, they've been getting some favorable calls, certain situations have been going their way, and therefore a lot of people have been hating on Argentina, and a lot of people want to see their downfall. Now for me, I'm going to try and remain as neutral as possible in this video, as I always try to do. And how can Argentina win this game? Now, guys, if we look at Argentina so far in this World Cup, they've been a very interesting team, and I would have never expected this coming to the World Cup. Now, guys, if we look at their previous games, we go to the group stages, they were incredible in the group stages, right? They scored 8 goals in 3 matches. They only conceded the 1 goal against Jordan, and it's fair to say that in the group stages, it's arguable that Argentina, maybe alongside France, were the best team in the whole World Cup. But moving on to the knockout stages, we've seen a lot of frailties with Argentina that I don't think we really saw in the group stages, guys. And looking at all 3 of their games against Cape Verde, against Egypt, and against Switzerland, they struggled in every single one of these games. Starting off with Cape Verde, obviously Messi got the first goal, but then Cape Verde came back. The game ended up going on to extra time where both teams scored a goal, and Argentina got the late winner with that header from Romero, which was counted as an own goal by Borges, but a very close call. And even in the next game against Egypt, guys, Egypt were up 2-0, arguably could have been 3-0, and Argentina scored 3 goals in the last 13 minutes to come back and win the game, not even going into extra time. Crazy performance at the end of the game by Argentina. And most recently against Switzerland, guys, this was a very interesting game, in my opinion, for Argentina, because I feel like in all the other games, even though they were very close, we still saw Argentina being the dominant team. But in this game against Switzerland, I feel like Switzerland actually had many chances in this game, and they were the better team for majority, maybe not majority, but a good portion of the 90 minutes, guys. If you saw it for almost the whole first half, yes, they didn't really have the chances that they probably should have, but they were very dominant in the possession stat. And then even in the second half, guys, leading up to that goal, there was a good 15 minutes where Switzerland had all the ball. Argentina could not get out of their half for probably over 30 minutes of this game. So Switzerland definitely had a lot of domination in this game, but then you go on to later on in the game, it was all Argentina. They came back into the game. They had loads of shots, loads of possessions, and obviously, guys, that first goal by Julian Alvarez, whoo, what a beauty that goal was, guys. In the second half of extra time, guys, this goal, oh my gosh, what an incredible finish outside the box. Beautiful goal right to the top right corner. He scored the second goal for Argentina, and obviously Lautaro Martinez finished the game with that last goal. But like I said, we have seen frailties from Argentina in the knockout stages, and I feel like that is somewhat concerning, especially to their manager Lionel Scaloni, because obviously, guys, he won the World Cup with Argentina in 2022. He is a good manager, but I feel like the lineup that he seems to use every single game, guys, we need to see some change. I don't know why it's just a copy and paste every single game. Guys, look at a player like DePaul. He's been shit in this World Cup. Honestly, he's been ass. He's been horrible. The other striker alongside Messi, yes, Alvarez and Lautaro Martinez both scored in the last game against Switzerland, but other than that, it's been all Messi up top. And even some of the fullbacks like Tagliafico, like Molina, I don't think they've been that good in this World Cup. Now, to be fair to them, Their center backs, I think, have been very good. They've been able to score goals, and they've been really helpful to this Argentinian team. And even some of the other midfielders like Enzo Fernandez and McAllister, they've been pretty good as well. But there's definitely a couple players in this lineup where I feel like could be looked at as weak points for England in this Argentinian team. But guys, Argentina in the attack have been the best team in this World Cup. A lot of people may look at France, but guys, Argentina have scored more goals in the attack than France have. I think so far in this World Cup, I think they have scored 18 goals, which is absolutely incredible. And guys, the reason I think for this is because when Argentina are in possession, they push up so many players, guys. Obviously, we know Argentina kind of play in a more narrow formation. They don't really use the width as much. And when they're in the attack, you see obviously the strikers, Messi, Alvarez push up. You see Enzo Fernandez push up. You see DePaul pushing up. You see McAllister pushing up. You see Paredes right behind them. The whole entire team pushes up. And what this allows them to do is it allows for many different pockets of space. And that's why you always see Messi getting into these pockets of space, because him having the IQ that he has, having the movement that he has, he's able to get into these spaces. And that's why players like DePaul, Fernandez, McAllister are able to find Messi in these small pockets around the edge of the box. And that's why we've seen Messi score so many goals in this World Cup. But guys, let's talk about England, because we've talked a lot about Argentina, but England, guys, they definitely have a good chance to win this game. Now, England so far in this World Cup, I think they've been very similar to Argentina in the sense that both teams have shown frailties. Both teams have struggled in certain games. Both of these teams haven't had a clean route to the final. I know if you look at Argentina, they have won every game, but there was very, very close many times to not winning. So both of these teams have definitely struggled. Now, looking at England, guys, if we look at England earlier on in the tournament, obviously in the group stages, it wasn't easy sailing. We saw them get that draw against Ghana. That game against Panama for the first half, it did look a little bit rough for England, but at the end of the day, they did get the job done. That win against Croatia, in my opinion, was very, very good. Now, in the knockout stages, guys, this is where it's been much more difficult for England, and mainly on the defensive end. If you look at their game against DR Congo, they conceded the early goal after 7 minutes. Thank God for Kane, he brought them back in it. You look at the game against Mexico, obviously, we saw 2 goals from Bellingham and the goal from Kane, but they also conceded 2 goals against Mexico. And realistically, if Mexico could finish their chances in this game, which they had loads of, they just weren't getting their shots off, they probably could have won this game as well. And guys, even in their last game against Norway, once again, Norway opened the scoreline with Sheldrup in the 36th minute. Once again, Bellingham saves England. They come back into the game. But that shows you that defensively, England do struggle, guys. They struggle, especially with conceding early on in games. If they can prevent an early goal, then they definitely have a better chance to win. But if they concede early, it may be very difficult for them. Now, obviously, guys, if you look at this England team, we'll talk about their defense in a sec, but let's start off with their attack, because their attacking players, Kane and Bellingham mainly, have been fantastic. Now, players that need to perform in this game and need a little bit more consistency for me is their wingers. You look at Gordon, and I think he's been okay in this World Cup. He's gotten a few assists, but he's still lacking that consistency. And especially with players like Madueke, players like Rashford, players like Saka, who's been slightly injured, they're kind of lacking that consistency on the wing. Moving down to the midfield, I think in the midfield, they've been very good. Rice, Anderson, solid. But again, defensively, guys, and especially with Jordan Pickford, we saw it in that game against Mexico. Jordan Pickford was incredible. He was getting to all the crosses. He was claiming the ball, made some very good saves. But then against Norway, he looked very, very weak, and he didn't look like he was as confident as he was against Mexico. So I feel like Pickford is actually a very important player in this game that some people may be overlooking. But I also think their fullback area is definitely an area of consideration, because, guys, we've seen a player like Reece James struggle with injury. We saw Jarell Quansah get that red card. We've seen Dan Burn play here and there, but he isn't really a very reliable or consistent great player like some of these other players are. And Ezri Konsa, I don't think he performed that good in the right back position. So I feel like that position is definitely probably the weakest point with England. On the other side, O'Reilly is a very good player, but I feel like even him in this tournament, I don't think he's been the best. Now, how can both of these teams win this game? How can Argentina make it to the final, and how can England make it to the final, guys? Let's start with Argentina. For me, I think Argentina need to do what they do best, guys. Now, if you look at Argentina so far in this World Cup, they've taken over 40% of their shots from outside the box. And the reason for this is because since they push so many players up in the attack, they have so many players to crash the box. So if they shoot from outside the box, Obviously, sometimes we see go in like it did with Julian Alvarez against Switzerland, but even if the goalkeeper gets a save, then there's so many players that can get the rebound. We saw what Messi did in that early game in the group stages where the goalkeeper made the save, he got the rebound, puts it in the back of the net. That's what they try to do. And even if the goalkeeper makes a save and parries it out for a corner, then once again, Argentina can crash the box. And although they don't have that many tall players, they have already scored multiple goals from corners so far in this World Cup. So that's how Argentina like to attack. And I know that Thomas Tuchel will know this. He will definitely know this, and he will want his defenders to watch these areas in the box. But with how Argentina overloads so many players in the attack, it will be difficult for England. Now, in my opinion, for England to win this game, guys, obviously the easiest answer is their difference makers, players like Bellingham, players like Harry Kane. They need to perform. But other than that, I think what's really important for England is their off the ball movement. Because if you look at these Argentinian defenders, right? Let's start with the center backs, Romero and Martinez. They've been very good. They're good defenders, but they're very, very aggressive. They like going into tackles, sometimes a little bit rash. And that's why I think the off the ball movement of the players like Harry Kane, like Jude Bellingham, will be very, very important to try and drag these players out of position, and then to leave English wingers one-on-one with the fullbacks or with the other center back, because that's where Argentina looks susceptible to conceding goals. And obviously with a player like Harry Kane, you know you cannot leave him any space because he can shoot from anywhere in the attacking third and have a good chance to get it in. So a player like Romero or Martinez will definitely be guarding Harry Kane, and if his off the ball movement can try and drag these players out and therefore allow overlapping runs from Gordon, from Saka or Madueke, whoever it is, that will definitely be a big advantage for England. So guys, as for my final predictions, like I said, I think this will be a very, very close game, and I actually could see both teams getting multiple goals in this game, but I think England will win the game, whether it's in extra time or maybe even in penalties, which would be insane because you know Argentina love penalties. But guys, I think England win this game. I think England win this game. Argentina, they have a great team. They can definitely do it. But something inside me is telling me that this is finally the time that England make it to another World Cup final. It's been so many years, and I think they will do it in this game. But guys, that is the end of this video. That was my preview for the semi-final matchup between England and Argentina. And obviously, guys, who they will meet in the final, we already know the answer to that. But guys, if you guys enjoyed this preview, if you enjoyed this little analytical breakdown of both of these teams, remember to leave a like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff, guys. And obviously, I'll see you in my next video.